the testing. Fantastic to see him in this 3-0 record, but yeah, definitely with a deck that I was surprised to see him playing in Cloth.
Yeah, it was one that I really did have on my radar, but I didn't know if we'd get to see one in round 4. So Darren there, you can see some of the achievements: top 128 at EUIC, top 64 at Bremen Regional, top 4 at Dubai Special Event, and top 16 at the Tour Special Event. Yeah. So certainly no stranger to making those top cuts. Does often travel around with his daughter to tournaments. Got a real poker dad vibe going on here, which is absolutely wonderful. She's had some great finishes as well.
Yeah, shout out to the poker dads for sure, but here we see Tobias as well. With the Lost Zone deck, it's going to be the Tord effect. It's going to be the Tord Lost Box with, you know, all of those little surprises, with the Iron Hands, with the Roaring Moon, and with that 1-1 Palkia as well. So yeah, really eager to get into this one. I think it's a matchup that we don't see very often. You know, Cloth, which should have a relatively good time into Lost Box. It's got that awkward HP, but of course, with the spicy season curry coming into play, it will reduce that HP.
I'm not loving 2 double. There's only 4 energy in the deck. Yeah. It is 4 double turbo. Now you can...
Yeah, sorry.
You can attack for free with a Hisuian Electrode. Yeah. You still need those energy. 2 of them prized is bad. And we do need to make a quick correction. There is no counter catcher in Darren's deck. So it is a list actually not playing that. But we are off here. And it looks like Tobias is going first with a Comfey in the active. That's what you want turn 1, Ben.
Yeah, certainly. And also 2 Battle VIP pass. He's popping off. He's popping off for sure. He's got the flower selecting Comfey, of course, in the starting position, like you said. They're leading the attack. But here we see the 2 Battle VIP pass and just the prize check here from Tobias, looking at that Iron Hands, of course. That may come in relevant here against that Cloth as well. But here we see just the Pokemon coming to the front, just checking the prizes. You know, it's something that all of our good players do. It's always healthy to do that, especially with so much in your deck. So many energies, so many Pokemon that you've got to keep an eye on, keep a check of. Here we see... Maybe. One
of the good things for Tobias here is that does actually give the deck away. Hisuian Electrode is not exactly a card we see in a lot of decks. It does 100 damage for 0 energy for each special condition you have on you. So it really only works in a Cloth deck or a real deck that works purely around that card. So it does kind of give the game away a little bit early. And Tobias basically just gets to go, hey, what's my perfect bench? What is everything that I want turn 1? 2 more Comfey, a Cramorant for early attacking, and that Greninja to get some extra cards nice and early.
Yeah, I think what's interesting about this one as well is, like we said, this isn't a matchup we see very often, so Tobias may be playing off the cuff here. He may be, you know, thinking, oh, what's my best outs here? What's my best starting position? Like you said, here we see the first flower selecting with that lightning energy.
Ooh, now he's only playing 2 basic lightning.
Only playing the 2, so...
So lost zoning 1 early, that really hurts Iron Hands.
Yeah, for sure.
And Iron Hands does the exact amount of damage to KO a Claw for 2 prizes.
Yeah, for sure, and interesting to see how he's going to be going around that as well.
Maybe he's not expecting Cloth. Maybe he thinks it's a more traditional Hisuian Electro deck.
Yeah, maybe so, maybe so. It does have to hide behind those Mirage Gates now as well. And here we see maybe the Psychic Energy hitting the discard pile, hitting another Battle VIP pass. Can we see a 3rd one coming down this turn 1? This is massive.
That is literally perfect bench. He's actually been able to, if he wants, to pick his literal perfect bench of 5 Pokemon, which is fantastic. Was he another flower selecting here, getting to 3 cards in the Lost Zone turn 1? Can't attack turn 1 going first, of course, but that makes that Cramorant on board from turn 2 very easily. We could even see turn 2 Mirage Gate at this stage.
Yeah, this is so ideal for Tobias, of course. You really want to rip through this deck as fast as possible with those flower selectings, get those cards into the Lost Zone, you know, start utilizing those Mirage Gates, like you said, really early on. And here we see eyeing up that Iron Hands as well with this 3rd Battle VIP pass, but Obstin not selecting anything. Maybe keeping that option on the bench just for the later game. Here we see...
Does have a couple of cards prized, of course. Got a Sableye and a Roaring Moon prize. Might well be that the card he wants is in the prizes and he's hoping to draw it out in a minute and, you know, use that bench space there. But we are over to Darren, gets a Bidoof down nice and early. Evolve that into the Bibarel later on, get some draw action going on. And we see Nestball coming down. Could this be... Could it be Cloth? It looks like Cloth.
I'd imagine so, yeah.
At the front. And this is going to be where Tobias looks at it. And honestly, if I'm Tobias, as soon as I see that Cloth hit the field, I'm wishing I hadn't lost zone the lightning energy, because I'm thinking that Iron Hands EX, that could really help you turn the prize trade in your favor, because Darren is going to be attacking with single prizes a lot this game. So if you can take out a Claw for 2 prizes, then take out the Hisuian Electrode with which he started, that starts to give a pretty easy prize map. Squawkabilly down as well now.
there are some tasty options for Iron Hands for sure on Darren's side. You've got the Doof there coming down, obviously going to be the barrel later on, but the Squawkabilly as well, the Brute Bonnets, these are all very easy prizes to take with that Ampy very much. So, you know, Darren's going to have to play around that. You know, Clough is a very, very good attacker into Iron Hands with that weakness as well of the fighting on Iron Hands. And here we see Darren attaching the ancient...
The Future Boost energy capsule.
Yeah.
And it's very important. That means he can poison both active Pokemon using Brute Bonnet's ability. Clough, we haven't actually said what Clough does yet. For 2 colorless energy, you double turbo, it does basically 190 if you're affected by a special condition. So use Brute Bonnet to poison both active Pokemon, then the Clough gets to attack for a single energy, and you get the poison damage as well. Really, it's 170 because of double turbo, and then 180 because of poison. And this is what I love. Use the poison on Brute Bonnet now, and then the Hisuian Electrode comes out of the active, or just attacks for 100 for no energy.
Yeah. Well, it's such an efficient attacker. No energy requirement here for the Hisuian.
That's what he does.
That's going to be an easy prize, yeah. But of course, it does have the Spicy Season Curry as an option as well to have that special effect on the Pokemon as well. So it's definitely going to be looking to utilize these. But here we see the Colress coming down. We see another Colress, Psychic Energy. I believe that's Manaphy and Super Rod as well.
Yep.
Yeah, and the Pokegear as well. Obstacle, the Manaphy. I don't think there's going to be much bench hitting from the Clough deck, of course.
No, I think you're good with that one.
That's an easy option there from Tobias. I'm really intrigued as to how Tobias is playing this now, because you would really want to prioritize that Iron Hands, and Escape Rope would be really crucial here. And with that early prize being taken, the Counter Catcher, as we see there, now active for Tobias, so it could be a very early couple of prizes for Tobias on the Squawkabilly, maybe.
It could.
And especially if you can get the Iron Hands out, even better.
Yeah, we said that Darren doesn't play the Counter Catcher, but Tobias does play 1 copy of it. And yeah, I mean, here, you want to be going after your 2 prizes where you can. Iron Hands onto a Clough is still an option. No, it's not an option. Well, it is an option, but it's going to be super awkward. You only need 1 Lightning Energy for Ampy very much, but it means there is only 1 in the deck. There it is.
Ooh, yeah.
And at this stage, I think you've got to... you can't Lost Zone both of them.
Yeah, you've got to take the Lightning Energy here, I feel.
You've got to. It's awkward. Yeah, and there we go. It had to be done. It had to be done. Get rid of the Pokestop. Might have wanted that to try and get some extra item cards from your deck, but you cannot afford to lose both your Lightning Energy and just take it off the board. We do have Counter Catcher in hand there for Tobias, so he does have his pick of whatever Darren's got on the bench if he wishes.
Does have a switch out, I believe, as well. Opts to attach the Lightning Energy. Of course, can retreat with that. Super Rod back in, Mirage Gator back out. This is a really effective way of dealing with that problem for the Lost Box. But here we see the Cramorant being promoted. You can see a nice little 110 here on the Hisuian Electrode. Oh, no.
Oh, it's going on to the Jirachi.
Opts to go for the Jirachi.
And Jirachi, of course, stops damage counters being dropped by attacks of basic Pokemon. So that is actually a really good Sableye counter. So Tobias going, look, I'm taking out your Jirachi, and then in a turn or two, my Sableye's coming to say hello, except it's not, because he's only playing 1 copy and it's in the prizes. But maybe down the line.
Yeah, it could be an option. Here we see Darren as well, just getting out that Industrious Incisors barrel. Very popular option for most of our players here, and Nest Ball coming down. We can imagine that's going to be another attacker in Clough coming down, but this is Hisuian Electrode. Unfortunate here. Well, oh no, actually, with the poison as well, does hit 110, so it's not an awkward prize to take from the Cramorant.
No, and I don't mind giving up the Hisuian Electrode. If I'm taking 2 single prizes and then it goes down, and then I can finish off with Clough, because the other thing is we need to remember Darren prized half his energy. So if you can start taking cheeky prizes with Hisuian Electrode nice and early, and then finish off with Clough when your deck is smaller and it's easier to find the energy, that sounds all right by me as Darren goes and drops an Iono.
Yeah, super ideal for Darren. Going to be 2 prizes up before the end of this turn. Here we see a big 5 here from the Iono, disrupting Tobias in that big hand. As we all know, the Lost Box deck really enjoys having these large hands, a lot of options, of course, when that turn passes over. And here we see well, I can imagine it's going to be a Poison Powder with that Brute Bonnet, and then just an easy knockout with the Tantrum Blast from the Hisuian Electrode. I don't see many options in that hand. I see the Spicy Season Curry. I think I saw a Professor's Research as well, and here we see...
Yeah, you called it, Ben. Poison onto both active Pokemon, KO the Cramorant, and Darren goes up 2 prizes to 0 here. So this is really
a great position. This is a great position as well, because Tobias only has a few attackers that he can utilize to be really efficient going into this electrode, because you do have the roaring moon, but that has grass sweetness. So
Yeah,
you know, the Hisuian electrode can just come right back out. Another tantrum blast hitting for 400 if you got the spicy season curry and the poison powder. So yeah, it's really it's just a matchup that you don't see very often. So you know, it's really interesting to see how it plays out as it goes along. But
yeah, that toxic powder ability is actually doing really nicely at the moment, getting that poison on. We do have the spicy season curry that can push Hisuian electrode up to 200. In some matchups, it's awkward because you kind of stop at 200, 210 with poison. You can then use Hisuian Sneasel to actually push yourself up to 230, which hits magic numbers. But against Roaring Moon, who cares? It's weak, just smash. It's fine.
Yeah. It's not going to be much of a threat for Darren. He's probably going to actually be hoping it comes out to go another 2 prizes up. But here we see the Mirage Gate. You can imagine it's going to be maybe a Moonlight Shuriken with that water energy coming out, and here we see the lightning energy coming down as well.
Yeah, there's no KOs on the board with that Moonlight Shuriken, but what you can do is set up for a Sableye play to take multiple prizes later, but Sableye, there is 1 copy and it's in the prizes. Now, I'm sure there's a Hisuian Heavy Ball that might be able to come out in the future. I don't think he's already played it.
No.
You'd like to think he'd have taken the Sableye if he did, but that is a little bit awkward potentially. It seems like that's what the play is here, setting up for Sableye later, but we're not actually there yet. Although, it needs to be pointed out at this stage, Darren did actually get rid of the Hisuian Sneasler early doors.
Yeah.
That's in the discard. So we'd need to either recover that or use a spicy seasoned curry to keep taking KOs with Hisuian Electrode here.
So Tobias actually prized the Sableye as well, so it's actually a later play. But what makes this really awkward is that with these special conditions that are going to be affecting Darren's Pokemon, this damage is going to tick as the game goes along.
Yep.
So, you know, maybe going for the 2 Clorfs was maybe an option as well, because we know that it's going to be either burnt or poisoned later in the game. So if you could do 90 damage, we know, that damage can tick along.
I like
and Tobias could be utilizing Darren's strategy of the game as well. And here we see the Spicy Season Curry coming down. Of course, he's going to need that in order to knock out the Radiant Greninja.
Yeah.
Doing only the 110 with the poison as it ticks along, but it's going to need to do that 200 with the poison and burn as well. And here we see another Iono coming down for Darren, just disrupting Tobias here a lot more. This is not what you want to see as a Lost Box player.
No.
A continuous hand disruption is always a pain, because of course you only have so many Colress you can play. Tobias checking here, I would imagine, for how many switch outs he has, how many Colresses are left in the deck. And Darren here.
You see that Bibarel drawing a bunch of cards. It is worth noting Darren does play 1 copy of Super Rod, so could have potentially got that Hisuian Sneasler back, but obviously there's no bench space for it at the moment, so that kind of forces the use of the curry there. And it's weird, because we've had curry like 2 days in a row in the menu, and now we're watching a game where curry is being super impactful. And I will say the curry here has been absolutely delicious. If you're not here, you're definitely missing out. Darren, he's 3 prizes up.
3 prizes up. Who'd have thought it?
It's amazing.
Yeah. He's making Clorf look great.
He's making the Hisuian Electrode look great. Clorf's done nothing.
Clorf's done nothing,
Clorf's not pulling his weight right now.
He's not the star. He's not Santa Claus at the moment. That's for sure. Here we see with the damage tick as well with the burn and poison. And just a flip of heads there. The burn comes off that Clorf, of course, during that Pokemon checkup. And here we see Tobias. What? This is really awkward. I mean,
you're in range of a Cramorant now.
You are in range, yeah, for sure.
So that at least kind of takes you a couple of prizes. But the problem is, Darren's got a really nice board, assuming he can start drawing into those double turbo energy. Darren has got a really nice board to just sit there and start taking prizes with single prizes.
Yeah.
And that's going to really make the prize trade awkward. Tobias needs a KO here, and then he needs to start going after that Squawkabilly at some point in the not too distant future, just to try and even up the prize trade here.
And unfortunately, the prize trade forces Tobias it restricts him in using these 2 prize Pokemon. These powerful 2 prize Pokemon just can't come down on the board with Darren on such a low prize requirement to win the game. So it's with 3 prizes remaining, you can imagine Darren possibly going down to 2 next turn with a boss if Tobias puts up a 2 prize Pokemon. And it puts Tobias in a really awkward position. With also Darren only playing that Hisuian Electrode, there's not many prize options for Tobias to take multiple prizes in 1 turn. So, yeah, I'm unsure where Tobias goes from here. And here we see the Colress coming down. definitely going to be keeping that Iron Hands, you'd imagine.
Yeah, I mean, the other option, of course, is this is a Kyogre variant of Lost Box.
Yeah.
So what you can do is just kind of let Darren go as low as one prize, and if you can get a big enough Kyogre off in the late game, then you could potentially be taking, I mean, free prizes, Squawkabilly and something else, but that could be a big free prize swing kind of on your last turn if you can get close enough in the prize trade. Right now, though, we need to see, I mean, do we have a Cramorant or anything down yet? Has he got the resources to take the KO this turn?
I don't believe so. He can try and Pokestop for the Super Rod and Nest Ball combo, but that strategy that you mentioned earlier with the Kyogre, it's interesting enough that Tobias just put that straight into the Lost Zone, because you'd imagine that would be a very good way of taking those multiple prizes in one turn.
He only plays one, it's gone, and I'm pretty sure his Cramorant's in the discard pile, is it not?
Yeah, it's in the discard pile. So
his one Cramorant's in the discard, his one Sableye in the prizes, he's only got one energy left for his Iron Hand, because the other's in the Lost Zone. He's Lost Zoned his Kyogre. Like, he's running out of attackers at this stage, Ben.
Yeah, for sure. And you definitely, like we said earlier, definitely don't want to be putting down those two prizes. But here we see the Pokestop not opting to use it to try and find that Super Rod, but has now used that Nest Ball, which could have been an option to find that Cramorant. So here we see a Nest Ball, and the only option being the Palkia V-Star. Definitely don't want to put that down either. That would have been another easy two prizes for the Hisuian Electrode, but really needs to deal with this Electrode. This Electrode stayed in the active all this game. Who would have thought it as well?
I've watched a lot of Pokemon in my life, Ben, and this might be one of the best performances I've ever seen from a card that most people agree is not very good.
Yeah.
Oh, we do see the Iron Hands finally coming down here, but I don't think we've seen a Super Rod. I think the only, Lightning Energy is in the discard, so we need that to be recovered, or it's not possible to attack.
So this is such a risky play, because if Tobias is able to take, so he's able to take the 3 prizes here with the Thank you very much.
There we go.
We definitely want to see some hands out there in the crowds as well, if you can. But yeah, it's going to be recycling all that energy back in. A couple of Mirage Step from the Pokestop is definitely going to be a nice option. Yeah, here we see the double Mirage Step. But if Darren is able to take a knockout on this Iron Hands, which you imagine he possibly can with that Cloth, with the weakness,
that's he's weak to fighting. That ain't going to be that difficult.
Yeah, that's going to be an easy way of Darren dealing with this. But now, then it's up to Tobias to respond again, because he still needs 2 prizes, right? So with that only the Squawkabilly as an option to take those 2 prizes, Tobias is going to need a lot next turn.
I mean, it's getting awkward. I mean, Darren literally needs a double turbo. That's it. Everything else is on board for the return KO on the Iron Hands. It's that simple. Tobias then has a bunch of options. He can Roaring Moon onto the Squawkabilly, or he can get an Iron Hands recovered and KO something small, with the Lightning Energy, of course. There are ways, or you can go with the Kyogre route to get a double KO, or he could have done before the Lost Zoning, of course. Yep. He's got a couple of options here to take those last 2 prizes, but he's having to work a darn sight harder than Darren is.
Yeah, Darren is in such a good position because he got so far ahead early on with that Electrode, and it being so hard to deal with for Tobias. And here we see the Pokestop from Darren. I don't think there was anything apart from the VIP pass.
He got the switch.
VIP pass and switch, yeah.
Doesn't really need it. Might be nice in the future.
No, might be a nice option just in case a stall play comes out. And
he's got the energy.
Got the energy. We can see an unhinged Scissors coming out, you'd imagine. And with that Toxic Powder, Toxic Powder coming down for that Brute Bonnet.
He's in a phenomenal position, Darren is here.
He's in a great position.
He's going to have 1 prize remaining. He's going to grab an energy off the prizes now, you've got to imagine. Yeah, he just grabbed an energy off the prizes. Yeah. So he's got energy, he's got Cloth, he's got Brute Bonnet. He might need some gusting depending on what's in the active. But basically, Tobias has got 1 turn to either take out that Squawkabilly or reset the Iron Hands to take out the Cloth, or the game's over. Yeah,
needs another Iron Hands here. If he's able to get the Iron Hands off this Pokestop and Colress combo, then he can take the game, and that would have been a huge swing, because this isn't something that I would have expected with the amount of resources that were available to him. So this would be absolutely massive if Tobias is able to take this.
He didn't have a great start. His hand wasn't amazing. Darren was taking cheeky prizes turn after turn. But this is why everyone was a bit worried about Iron Hands when it was first revealed. People thought this was going to be the kind of thing we were going to see, these unfair games where somebody just attacks a couple times with Iron Hands and that's all over. Well, Tobias is trying to prove those people right now, because Darren was in such a commanding position, and Iron Hands here with 4 energy, it's asking a lot, but that would end the game.
Yeah, and only, I think, with that Super Rod and that Nest Ball, this is massive, because I think only 1 more Mirage Gate, would win Tobias the game here, because you can get the Iron Hands back, you can put those energy back into the deck as well, with the super rod. So this poker stop, I think the poker stop is the way to win it here. But I don't believe he's going to go for that option.
There's a big discussion going on. Of course, one option might have been to use Palkia V-Star to accelerate, free those energy onto the Iron Hands. Of course, that's not an option, given that the Palkia V's only hit the board this turn. But that's one way Tobias can accelerate a bunch of energy nice and quickly in this kind of Lost Box variant. There are 4 water energy in total in the deck. Of course, a Roaring Moon here would do exactly the same thing. Yep. A Roaring Moon coming out with free energy on would end the game as well. No, it wouldn't. It would only take 1 prize. Yep. You'd need Gusting, and we've already played the Chorus's Experiment. Yeah, the Iron Hands was the only option to take the game this turn, unless you were able to take the knockout on the Squawkabilly with this Palkia. But I think what he's going for here is that he's going to be trying to make this a really awkward knockout here for the Clorf, because if you're able to put the Palkia up, it's kind of awkward for Darren to deal with, being that 220 HP. So if you can get a Hisuian Electrode out, if you can poison it and also burn it, then it will be able to take the knockout. But it's asking for a lot here from Darren, but if he's got it in hand, this would be fantastic. You can imagine with the Bidoof as well. I think I see a Spicy Season Curry. I think I see the double colourless as well for the retreat. Yeah, I mean, he's got... I mean, there's a couple ways to do it. He can go Energy and Rope, he can go Energy and Boss, or he can go Hisuian Electrode and Spicy Season Curry. Yeah. Those are essentially the different ways he can pull this off here. Tobias was only able to take 1 prize. He's left his biggest, bulkiest Pokemon in the active that is available to him at the moment. Basically, he's given Darren the hardest route to victory, but he's given Darren a turn to try and pull the victory off. And Darren does have multiple routes available. He plays 3 Boss, he plays 2 Escape Rope. The fact that he's put the Squawkabilly active makes me think he's got the rope or looking for the rope. Yeah. Because he doesn't have a second Clorf. There's the energy. Escape Rope will... If I know Darren, if he had game, he would slap that down immediately. but the rope doesn't... No, the rope does do it. The rope does it easily. Yeah. I'm thinking of a Hisuian Electrode with a single special condition. So, yeah, the rope will do it here. So he's thinning out his hand. He doesn't have it yet. No. He got Boss's orders, though. But then he doesn't have a way to get the... No, the Boss's orders would be discard from that Poker Stop. Oh, of course, that was the Poker Stop. Didn't hit the Escape Rope that he wanted. And you're right, he probably would have played it if he had it by now. And there's no way Tobias doesn't... Well, Tobias can't attack 2 turns in a row with a Palkia, but he can V-Star or he can switch. You've got to think he's got the attack next turn. I think I saw an Escape Rope, actually. I don't know, did I? A rope will win the game here. It's not Escape Rope, it's Spicy Season Curry. These colours are too... No, there's Escape Rope. There's the Escape Rope. If he's got Escape Rope, he plays that, and anything that comes active, Darren Poison, Clorf hits for 170, plus 10 for Poison, and that's the game. Yeah, that would be game, yeah. It's just whether Darren checks that here as well. But that Palkia... He's got rope in hand. Needs to play the rope here for the game. I'm pretty sure if he plays rope, I mean, correct me if I'm missing something here, Ben. No, you are correct. Into the Bidoof? Maybe trying to reduce his hand to try and industrious incisors for something. But here we see the Electrode coming back in, maybe trying to opt for that game plan here of using that Tantrum Blast with the Spicy Season Curry. Yeah, he's got that Brute Bonnet, which can poison both the active Pokemon. Yeah, Electrode going back in. Going to be trying to thin down the hand, you'd imagine. Here we see shuffling up. But yeah, just needs to play that Escape Rope. But it's whether Darren just understands the game state. But I think that Town Store can also come down to try and thin that hand. You can attach the Forest Seal Stone as well. Yeah, you can get that out of his hand. So he's... sorry. Sorry. There comes the Town Store coming down. That will allow him, and Ned is the tool on the Squawkabilly to empty his hand that little bit more. Yeah, it does have the Forest Seal. There is the Escape Rope. And you've got to think this is the game here. That's the game, yeah. Like, whatever Tobias puts up, you use Brute Bonnet's ability, that Toxic Powder, and then Clorf hits for 170 plus the 10 for poison. Yeah. And that's enough to KO that Greninja. That's the game, yeah. Here we see the Forest Seal Stones putting that hand down to 3, I believe. Wanted to use and here we see the Industrial Incisors for 2. Here we see, I think that's a Drapion V and the Research as well. Can use the Research, draw a fresh 7 here. 2 VIP pass coming down. You'd like to see it in the discard, of course, after turn 1, Ross. I think he got the curry off that as well. There is the curry. Could he not use Brute Bonnet's ability for some reason? Whatever it might be. No, he did have the ability. No, he did have the ability, yeah. Either way, we've got the KO with Cloth.
Yeah, we've got the knockout. Yeah, and Darren will take game 1.
I'm pretty sure Darren takes... There's a lot of discussion going on here.
Yeah. Yeah,
I don't think it matters.
I think
okay, Darren has taken game 1 with the Claw KO. That was a bit of a confusing last turn. I think he had that quite a bit earlier than he thought he did.
I can't wait to speak to Darren after this match. I see him laughing there, and if I know Darren, he'll be kicking himself there. There's the laughter as well. We're having fun.
Just realised, like, hang on a second, I could have just played the rope and used brute vulnerability and had it like 5 minutes earlier.
Yeah, we're having fun here in Stuttgart. We're having fun here, but we're going into game 2. But Ross, Claw,
I'm loving
who would have
it.
thought it? It's 1-0 in round 4, and Darren could be seeing himself 4-0 in this tournament with Claw.
One of my favourite things about doing these European events is that the US players, the North American player base, they don't wake up until we're a few rounds in. Yeah. And there's going to be a point in a minute where a bunch of North American players wake up. And if Darren finishes this round, they're going to wake up and see a Claw is 4-0 in Stuttgart. And they're going to have so many questions, Ben.
Yeah, they're going to be double taking for sure. They're going to be trying to smell their coffee for sure and trying to realise, hang on a minute, is Claw 4-0? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It's no mistake. But Darren seems to be the master of it at the moment, seeing himself in such a good position, and here we see both players shuffling up for game 2. But Darren in such a good position here, 1-0. It's quite a dominating position. Tobias maybe thinking, okay, now I know how to play around this. This is what I'm good. These are my game plans, like we said earlier. It's not a matchup you see very often. Tobias may have been playing off the cuff, who knows? But here we see the prizes coming down.
Ooh, only Cramorant prize, and the only Palkia V. So those are 2 one-off Pokemon being prized. And yes, Hisuian Heavy Ball is a thing, but you've still got to find it and get into it. Oh, we start Iron Hand from Tobias here. You've got to think this is going to be a more aggressive Iron Hands game now. Yeah,
this is pretty rough for Tobias, actually. I think with that Cramorant prized as well, I think it's really hard to deal with that Hisuian Electrode. You're not hitting for weakness, you're not hitting for anything else. You have to be, you're essentially forced to use 2 prizes in order to deal with it, which is really awkward because I think Darren then with having the accessibility to Cloth, a really powerful 1 prizer, this is where Darren can really swing the game.
Yeah, it really can. Of course, Iron Hands is quite good, but it does have that weakness to Cloth, so it's not some kind of magic answer that just come out here, because Cloth will keep it in check quite nicely. You're trading 2 for 2, and trading 2 for 2 is fine if your prize map allows it. If you're behind on prizes and you try just trading 2 for 2, that's not going to work. So I suppose what we really need from Tobias, with no Cramorant, which is your early game plan generally in Lost Box, you need to get 7 cards on the Lost Zone as fast as you can. Yeah, the pressure's on Tobias for sure. I'm sure when he's going to be checking those prizes, he's going to be thinking he's in a rough position. And I think that hand, there's not really much happening in it either. I think I saw 4 energy and a Pokegear and a Nest Ball. That's pretty rough, because there's no switch outs to try and get that Iron Hands out of the active either. You see the Hisuian Sneasler come down for Darren as well. Battle VIP pass, just what Santa Claus was asked for. And then here we see another Claw coming down here, and the Bidoof, as you can imagine, with that carefree ability. And of course, you'd imagine that's going to be evolved into a barrel pretty fast for Darren, with that research in hand as well, ready for next turn. Yeah, I am loving Darren's start here. The Hisuian Sneasler didn't come down last game, but it's absolutely down this game. We got the Bidoof ready to evolve up into your draw engine. We got a Claw ready to go. I would kind of like to see a Hisuian Electrode, but it doesn't. It's a basic that attacks for 0 energy. You don't need to play it until you actually want to attack with it. But one of the things I like about the Sneasler here, oh, there it is. There we go. Ask and you shall receive. It hits basic EX and basic Pokemon V numbers nicely, because you do 200, and then you've got the curry, and you've got the burn from the curry, and you've got the poison damage, and then you've got a Hisuian Sneasler. It ends up at 230 is what I'm trying to say. Yeah. And that is a key number. That will get the Iron Hands. So, yeah, fine, Claw keeps it in check, but so does Hisuian Electrode. And you just said a second ago, Iron Hands does not deal well with that. No, it doesn't deal well with it at all. And the Hisuian Electrode is going to have the option to take that 1-hit knockout on the Iron Hands as well, with the addition of with the Spicy Seasoned Curry, with the Toxic Powder, with the Tantrum Blast, with the Pokemon Checkup. You know, this damage ramps up pretty quickly, and those numbers are really easy to hit. And, you know, like we said earlier, really hard to deal with Lost Box. You know, you really don't want to be using these 2 prizes in order to deal with this, when you can just get a 1 prizer coming straight back at you. You know, this is where usually Lost Box
is able to get the upper hand on decks. But, you know, it's kind of a call an ambulance, but not for me moment, I guess, for Lost Box at the moment.
Well, the good news is we have seen Hisui in heavy ball, and like we were suggesting, that Cramorant was absolutely the target there. That is your early game attacker. That's how you get early KOs. It's how you put pressure on nice and early. So that's come out. And this is one of the things we see when you're playing an unusual deck. I think Tobias is going to look back at turn one, game one, and go, mate, if I'd have known that was a Cloth deck, I might have done things a bit differently. Well, you've figured it out now, and that's wonderful. You've now got that information. But Darren's already up 1-0.
Yeah.
Huge advantage when you're playing a lesser seen deck.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we've mentioned it a couple of times now. This isn't a deck that you see very often. So, you know, when players test, you go, oh, I'm not going to hit Cloth. It's fine. It's absolutely fine. It's like we saw in Gdansk, right? It's like, oh, I'm not going to hit Snorlax. It's fine. I won't play any switch outs. Well, this is where you get punished, right? This is where you get punished. And here we see the Poké coming down. This is massive, by the way, because there's no supporters in hand. Here we see 5. No.
Oh, was that?
Kyogre. No, it doesn't hit it.
Oh, whiff off the Poké That is not very good at all here. And, I mean, Darren hasn't taken a prize yet, but look at his board. And the thing is, last game, Darren actually was not in a great position with 2 of the 4 energy prize. That really hurt your attacking options. That is not the case here. There's 2 of your 4 spicy season curry. That's not such a big deal. Not when you've got Cloth, and not when, you know, the only thing you need the season curry for is a 2 prize Pokemon that isn't Iron Hands, and that's not coming out yet.
Oh, yeah.
But we do at least see a poke hit. No, we don't even see a poke.
No, we don't see a poke. There's no cards in the Lost Zone.
No cards in the Lost Zone.
This is really where you don't want to be as a Lost Box deck.
That's bad,
No, it's absolutely terrible, Ross. Absolutely terrible. As a Lost Box deck, you really want to get, like we said earlier, you really want to pile through that deck as quick as possible. You want to rip it and roar it with those flower selectings, with those Colress, but Tobias, really rough here, and of course, promoting that Cramorant, you really don't want to get rid of that Iron Hands too early.
No, when I said 7 cards in the Lost Zone early, I didn't mean 0 in their turn 1. That's literally the opposite of what I was asking for.
This is the one thing he did not want to happen. We see the Industrious Incisors come down here for the barrel as well. This is just, you know, such an advantageous position here for Darren. Is able to, you know, refresh that hand consistently. He does have the research in hand as well. Hasn't even used his V-Star power as well with that Forest Seal Stone. So Darren in really dominating position here, and you can imagine taking a couple early prizes. Has the boss as well. You know, with that spicy season curry, does have the option to take that Iron Hands out pretty early on as well.
I mean, if I've got it and I can take the energy away before my opponent, I mean, that's the one thing I'm looking at here. Getting that energy attachment off is huge. Does seem like we got an escape rope here. It's not exactly what we wanted, but to be honest with you, either of those Pokemon on the board are a better option to go after. Because now another thing we see with the Hisuian Sneasler, that means that your Hisuian Electrode hits for 130 with poison, which just so happens to be Greninja.
I absolutely love this play, right? Actually, because the escape rope, there's 2 options on the bench here for Tobias. He really doesn't want to promote. You promote the Greninja, that's your 1 draw out next turn. You promote the Iron Hands, you're going 2 prizes down. So, you know, it's a lose-lose situation there for Tobias.
Yeah.
You see the Cloth, the Unhinged Scissors taking a very 2 easy prizes on that Iron Hands.
Yeah, I said the escape rope wasn't what you wanted because we wanted the boss. Actually, you know what? Instead of me making a decision as to what Pokemon's going to be, not you make the decision. Adding insult to injury, and Darren is again up 2 prizes.
Yeah, and here we see the Comfey, maybe a turn too early, but does have the switch out. Can start to go through it with the flower selecting, but, you know, really rough position to be in. Really wants to try and come back into this game. The
switch card and a Mirage Gate, you really want both of those cards. You do not want to Lost Zone a Mirage Gate that early in the game. So that's one option down, and, well, you know, Darren's going to be looking at that and going, you know what? I know you want that card later. You know, for your big Kyogre. We saw the double Mirage Gate on Iron Hands last game. This makes that a lot more difficult. Yeah, we've heard some horror stories before, especially when your friends are saying, oh, I can't fade, but it was my 2 Iono, or it was a Colress. You hear those horror stories all the time, and that's definitely one for Tobias. 2 resources he really does want to keep for his strategy, but here we see the promotion. There's a good concession. Darren takes it 2-0. Santa Claus is coming to town. He knows if you've been naughty or nice, but he's been very nice for Darren here. This is wonderful. And Tobias had nothing. He was 3 prizes down, 1 card in the Lost Zone, bad hand, and he just went, you know what? Cloth is too much. Yeah. And, I mean, at least in Game 2, it really was the Cloth show. Yeah, Cloth is coming back to town. Look at that. It's a smile of a man who is 4-0 with Cloth.
If I know Darren, and I do, he's going to be loving life right now. And he probably can't believe, where he is right now. 4-0 in Stuttgart. You can see the huffing and puffing here. You can't believe his luck, I think, in some circumstances. But yeah, what a position to be in for Darren. Really happy for him. As we said before, really committed to the cause. He's a poker dad as well. So he comes to all the tournaments with his daughter as well. Really great to see a player doing well.
He's a lovely